Hello, and welcome to another gentle journey on Sleepy Professor Stories. Tonight, you are invited into a place that has been with you from the very beginning, a quiet inner world that asks for almost nothing and yet gives so much. We are spending this slow and peaceful time with the human heart, not as a cold diagram in a textbook, and not as something distant or alarming, but as a faithful, steady companion. Through the night, we will move softly through its rhythm, its structure, its flowing pathways, its delicate timing, its early beginnings, and its quiet connection to the rest of your living body. And before we go any further, if these gentle explorations bring you comfort, you are welcome to like the video, subscribe, or leave a quiet comment below. But there is no need to do anything at all right now. You can simply rest here and listen. There is nothing to solve tonight, nowhere to rush, and nothing you need to remember perfectly. You can let your breathing grow slower if it wants to. You can let your jaw soften, your shoulders loosen, and your thoughts drift a little farther apart. The facts can arrive gently, like soft lights in the distance, interesting if you notice them, restful if you do not. Now, very quietly, we turn toward the heart itself, a small muscular presence, hidden from sight, steady in its labor, patient in its rhythm, and vast in all that it makes possible. Let's begin. You begin with something so familiar that it is almost easy to forget. Beneath your ribs, behind the gentle rise and fall of your breathing, the heart continues its steady work. It does not wait for your attention. It does not ask to be noticed. Even now, as you rest and listen, it moves in its own calm pattern, faithful and quiet, sending life through you in soft, repeating waves. If you place a hand over your chest, or simply imagine doing so, you can almost sense that hidden rhythm. Sometimes it feels obvious, like a small knocking from within. Sometimes it is so subtle it seems to disappear into the background of being alive. And yet it remains there, moment after moment, never truly pausing, never stepping away from its task. Long before you learned language, long before memory took shape, this motion had already begun. The heart is a muscle, though it does not feel like the muscles you move on purpose. You do not lift it, stretch it, or command it to begin. It belongs to a quieter system, one that works beneath deliberate thought. Its tissue is specialized for endurance and built from cells that contract in coordinated patterns again and again. In this way, the heart is both strong and gentle, a structure made not for sudden effort alone, but for lifelong constancy. It rests slightly left of center in the chest for most people, though not as far left as many imagine. It sits within the protective cradle of the rib cage, between the lungs, above the diaphragm, wrapped in thin layers that help shield and anchor it. It is not especially large, usually close to the size of a clenched fist, and yet within that modest space, it performs one of the most important movements in the body. Small does not mean simple. Small does not mean unimportant. Some of the quietest things carry the widest consequences. Its motion is not random. Each beat follows an orderly cycle of tightening and release. When the heart muscle contracts, it pushes blood outward into the great branching pathways of the body. When it relaxes, it allows itself to fill again. This pattern of squeeze and release repeats with remarkable regularity. The sound, often described as a heartbeat, comes mostly from valves closing within this process, creating the soft internal rhythm that doctors listen for, and that poets, in their own way, have always tried to describe. Your heart rate is not fixed like a metronome on a shelf. It shifts gently with your needs. When you sleep, it often slows. When you climb stairs, it rises. When fear or excitement visits, signals from your nervous system can ask it to beat faster, sending more blood where it may be needed. When calm returns, it often eases back again. In this way, the heart listens as well as leads. It responds to the body's changing weather, adjusting its tempo to match the moment. Even in quiet rest, blood is moving constantly. With each beat, the heart sends oxygen and nutrients outward, helping sustain the countless cells that make up your body. Every thought, every blink, every warm fingertip depends in some way on this circulation. The brain, the kidneys, the skin, the muscles, all are joined by this steady red current. It is easy to think of the body as a collection of separate parts, but the heart reminds you that life is also flow, connection, return. There is something deeply calming in that idea. You are not held together only by bone and skin, but by movement. A silent circulation links the far edges of you to the quiet center. Blood travels outward and comes home again. It leaves carrying oxygen and returns carrying carbon dioxide, looping through the body and back toward the lungs in a pattern so continuous that it can seem almost like a tide. Not hurried, not lost, just moving again and again through familiar paths. Because the heart works without rest, it also feeds itself with great care. It cannot simply rely on blood passing through its chambers. It has its own network of vessels, called coronary arteries, that wrap around its surface and bring oxygen-rich blood directly to the muscle. Even the organ that sends nourishment outward must also receive nourishment in return. There is a quiet balance in that. The giver, too, must be sustained. The center must also be cared for. Before birth, the heart begins astonishingly early. In the developing embryo, it is among the first organs to form and begin functioning. At first, it is simple, more like a tube than the chambered structure it will become. But it soon bends, folds, and reshapes itself. Very early in life, before the world is seen or named, this pulse is already present. It is one of the oldest rhythms you have ever known, perhaps the oldest of all. As the years pass, the heart continues adapting to the life around it. In childhood, it beats faster, matching a smaller body and a quicker metabolism. In adulthood, it often settles into a slower resting pace, though no two people are exactly alike. Fitness, temperature, posture, emotion, hydration, and sleep all influence its rhythm in quiet ways. The heart is not a rigid clock. It is more like a skilled musician, keeping time while also adjusting to the changing mood of the room. Its labor is measured not only in beats, but in volume. Over the course of a day, it moves astonishing amounts of blood through the circulation, maintaining pressure enough to reach the smallest vessels and gentle enough to allow exchange in delicate tissues. The force is real, yet it is carefully regulated. If you imagine every cell in the body as a small waiting shore, then the heart is the tide that reliably reaches them, bringing what is needed and carrying other substances away. The beat you sometimes feel in your wrist or neck is a quiet echo of that central motion. What you notice there is not the heart itself touching those places, but a pressure wave traveling through arteries as blood is pushed forward. In that sense, the pulse is a message sent outward, a rhythmic signature that can be felt far from its source. The center speaks softly, and the rest of the body answers by receiving. The heart is also never entirely alone in its rhythm. It is in quiet conversation with the brain, with hormones, with the chemistry of the blood itself. Signals can tell it when to quicken, when to settle, when to squeeze with a little more force, when to conserve. Yet, even with all this communication, the basic impulse to beat arises from within the heart's own specialized cells. It carries its own spark of timing. There is something reassuring in that self-starting steadiness, as if the body has placed a lantern at its center and asked it to keep glowing through the night without fuss, without pause, and without needing praise. There is nothing you need to do with this knowledge tonight. You do not need to memorize the pathway of blood or picture every chamber perfectly. It is enough just to notice, perhaps with a little more softness than usual, that within you is a patient muscular rhythm continuing on your behalf. The heart is not dramatic most of the time. Its beauty lies partly in that very lack of spectacle. It is devoted, repetitive, dependable. It keeps going. If you listen inward in imagination, you may begin to sense how much is contained in a single beat. Motion, pressure, sound, timing, muscle, response, endurance. A brief gathering of force, then release. Then again, and again. The pattern is simple enough to repeat, yet rich enough to sustain a whole life. This is how many essential things are built, not from noise, but from steady return. So tonight, you rest beside that rhythm, not needing to guide it, only allowing yourself to be accompanied by it. A quiet pulse at the center, a lifelong movement hidden in darkness, carrying warmth to the edges of you and back again. And as that pulse continues in its unseen faithfulness, it becomes natural to wonder what shape this small companion truly has, what rooms and passages lie within it, and how such a modest structure holds such ordered grace. Now that you have settled beside the quiet rhythm of the heart, you can drift a little closer, as though approaching a made dwelling hidden deep within the chest. It is not large. It does not spread across the body like the lungs, or stretch outward like the skin. And yet, within its compact form, the heart contains an arrangement of spaces, walls, doorways, and coverings, each one shaped for movement, pressure, and return. From the outside, the heart is not perfectly symmetrical. It leans, turns, and narrows toward its lower tip, which is called the apex. Its broader upper portion, where the great vessels attach, is known as the base. This gives the heart a tilted cone-like form, resting between the lungs and angled in such a way that its beat is often easiest to sense on the left side of the chest. Even its outer silhouette suggests direction, as though it is pointed toward the work it must do. Its surface is smooth but not plain. Fine grooves trace across it, marking the paths where blood vessels travel over the muscle itself. These shallow lines hint at the life moving both around and within the heart. Seen closely, it is not a simple red shape, but a living structure with texture, curvature, and variation. It has weight. It has form. It belongs fully to the physical world, even if most of its work happens beyond sight. Around the heart lies a protective sac called the pericardium. It is thin but important, a layered covering that helps hold the heart in place and reduce friction as it moves. Between its layers is a small amount of fluid, enough to let the heart beat and shift with less rubbing against nearby tissues. This is one of those gentle details the body arranges quietly, like oil on a hinge or water beneath a boat, allowing motion to continue smoothly without noise or strain. Beneath that outer protection is the heart wall itself, built in layers. The innermost lining is smooth and delicate, helping blood move cleanly through the chambers. The thick middle layer is the muscle, the myocardium, and this is where much of the heart's strength resides. Outside that is a thin outer layer that blends with the surrounding protective sac. Together, these layers form something soft and durable, able to flex, contract, and endure through years of continual motion. Inside, the heart is divided into 4 chambers. The upper 2 are the atria, smaller receiving rooms where blood arrives. The lower 2 are the ventricles, stronger pumping chambers that send blood onward. This arrangement creates a kind of order. Blood does not simply swirl aimlessly through one hollow space. It enters, pauses briefly, moves downward, and is then sent forward with purpose. The design is compact, but it creates a clear sense of direction, like rooms arranged around a careful plan. The right atrium receives blood returning from much of the body, a blood that has already delivered its oxygen and is ready for the next stage of its journey. The left atrium, by contrast, receives blood coming back from the lungs, refreshed with oxygen. These 2 upper chambers are quieter receiving places, less forceful than the lower chambers, but essential in timing and flow. They gather what is returning, each from its own pathway, and prepare it for the movement below. The ventricles sit beneath them, like deeper, more muscular rooms. The right ventricle sends blood toward the lungs, where gas exchange can happen. The left ventricle sends blood out to the rest of the body, and because that journey is much longer and requires greater pressure, its muscular wall is thicker. If you could hold the heart gently and compare its sides, you would find this difference built into its structure. The body has shaped the left ventricle for a wider task, giving it extra strength for the farther road. A wall of tissue separates the right side of the heart from the left. This partition, called the septum, prevents oxygen-poor blood on one side from mixing with oxygen-rich blood on the other. It is an elegant division, not meant to isolate, but to preserve order. Within the heart, separation is part of cooperation. Each side has its role, and the thin but firm boundary between them helps both roles unfold clearly, without confusion or waste. Between the atria and ventricles are valves, delicate folds of tissue that open and close with changes in pressure. On the right side is the tricuspid valve. On the left side is the mitral valve. They allow blood to move downward when the timing is right, and then close to help prevent it from slipping backward. The action is quiet and continuous, more like fabric lifting and settling in a current than like heavy doors swinging on hinges. Their softness is part of their precision. At the exits of the ventricles are 2 more valves. One leads from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery, carrying blood toward the lungs. The other leads from the left ventricle into the aorta, the great vessel that carries blood outward to the body. These semilunar valves are shaped to catch any backward flow and close neatly when pressure shifts. Their form matches their task so closely that function and structure seem inseparable. Shape becomes purpose, tissue becomes guidance. The inner spaces of the heart are not empty in the plain sense. They are lined, contoured, and supported by subtle features. In the ventricles, small muscular projections and thin cords help anchor the atrioventricular valves so they do not collapse backward under pressure. These structures are fine and easily overlooked, yet they contribute to the steadiness of each beat. It is another quiet reminder that precision often depends on details too small to notice from a distance. Although diagrams often present the heart as a simple front view, in the body it occupies three-dimensional space with rotation. One chamber sits slightly before another. One vessel rises and curves. One side forms more of the visible front surface, while another helps shape the back. This matters because the heart is not a flat symbol. It is an object of depth, tucked into the chest with a particular orientation, its internal rooms arranged in relation to lungs, sternum, spine, and diaphragm. Its chambers are not identical in thickness or texture because their work is not identical either. The atria have thinner walls, suited to receiving and passing blood onward over short distances. The ventricles are thicker, especially the left, built for stronger contractions. In this way, the architecture of the heart tells the story of its duties. You can read its labor in its walls. The places that must push harder are made stronger. The places that receive are shaped with gentler force. All of this exists within a structure small enough to fit within your chest without ceremony. 4 chambers, layered walls, protective coverings, dividing partitions, fine valves, supporting cords, great vessels joining above. Nothing excessive, nothing ornamental, and yet nothing careless. The heart feels architectural in its economy, as though nature has taken a modest amount of space and used it with wisdom. It is compact, but not crowded, detailed, but not wasteful. There is something calming about such order. The heart is not a chaotic knot of tissue doing its best in the dark. It is an organized interior landscape shaped by development and refined by function. Each chamber has a role. Each wall carries a certain burden. Each valve opens at the proper moment and closes when needed. Even the protective sac around it contributes to the grace of the whole. So much of life depends on arrangements like these, quiet structures doing their work without display. And perhaps that is why the heart feels so compelling when you imagine it from within. It is not only that it beats, it is that it is built so carefully for beating. Its form and its purpose belong to each other. The chambers make possible the flow. The walls create pressure. The valves keep direction. The coverings soften movement. Nothing needs to announce itself loudly. The design speaks in silence. There is nothing you need to hold tightly in your mind now. You can let these rooms remain soft around the edges. You can picture a hidden house within you, each space prepared for receiving, sending, separating, protecting, and guiding. A chambered world tucked beneath the ribs, quietly complete. And once you begin to sense that inward architecture, it becomes easy to wonder what travels through these rooms all night long. What red current enters, leaves, and returns in patient motion. If you imagine the heart as a small house with quiet rooms, then the blood that moves through it is the traveler, the visitor, and the messenger passing gently from space to space. Nothing inside the body remains completely still for long. Even in the quiet of sleep, when muscles soften and breathing deepens, blood continues its patient journey. It enters, pauses briefly, changes direction, and flows onward again, tracing pathways that connect every corner of you. This movement begins far from the heart itself. In the distant landscapes of your body, your fingertips, your toes, the soft tissues behind your eyes, the deep muscles of your back, tiny vessels called capillaries, weave through the living world of cells. Here, blood slows almost to a drifting pace. Oxygen slips quietly from the blood into nearby cells, while carbon dioxide and other byproducts move in the opposite direction. It is a calm exchange happening everywhere at once, a quiet trade that keeps life unfolding moment by moment. Once this exchange has taken place, the blood begins its return. It gathers in slightly larger vessels called venules, which join together like small streams becoming creeks. These pathways gradually widen into veins, guiding the darkened blood back toward the center of the body. By now it carries less oxygen, having shared much of it with the tissues that needed it. But this is not a loss. It is simply part of the rhythm, a natural stage in a larger circle. The veins do not rush their work. Many contain delicate valves that help guide the blood in a single direction, especially in the limbs where gravity might otherwise slow its journey. Muscles gently press against these vessels as you move through the day, helping push the blood along its path. Even breathing assists this quiet travel, as the expansion and contraction of the chest subtly encourage blood to drift back toward the heart. Eventually, these many returning streams merge into two large veins that enter the right atrium of the heart. Here, the blood arrives after its long tour through the body. It is not tired, not depleted in any dramatic sense, but ready for renewal. The right atrium receives it calmly, like a harbor accepting ships that have completed their voyage. From there, the blood passes downward into the right ventricle. The movement is guided by a valve that opens when pressure shifts and closes again to prevent backward flow. When the ventricle contracts, the blood is pushed outward through the pulmonary artery, beginning a shorter journey toward the lungs. This moment is less like a violent push and more like a wave rolling forward, firm but controlled. In the lungs, something quietly remarkable happens. The blood moves through an intricate web of tiny vessels that wrap around millions of air sacs. Each breath you take fills those sacs with fresh air, rich in oxygen. As blood flows past them, oxygen diffuses across thin membranes into the red blood cells, while carbon dioxide moves out to be carried away in your next exhale. It is an elegant exchange, invisible but constant, renewing the blood in soft cycles that mirror your breathing. Now refreshed, the blood travels back toward the heart once more, this time entering the left atrium. The journey has come full circle, yet it is also beginning again. The left atrium passes the blood into the left ventricle, a chamber whose muscular walls are thicker and stronger than those on the right side. This strength is necessary because the next movement will send blood outward through the entire body. When the left ventricle contracts, blood flows into the aorta, the great artery that arches upward and then curves down through the chest and abdomen. From this central highway, smaller arteries branch away in every direction. Some rise toward the brain, others sweep outward to the arms. Still others travel downward to their organs and legs. The body becomes a landscape of branching rivers, each carrying oxygen and nutrients exactly where they are needed. As the arteries grow smaller, they divide into finer and finer vessels, eventually becoming capillaries again. The journey that began in the tissues returns to the tissues, completing a loop that never truly ends. With every beat of the heart, this circle continues. Blood leaves, blood returns, oxygen arrives, carbon dioxide departs. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is static. Everything moves in quiet continuity. The red color of blood itself comes from hemoglobin, a remarkable molecule within red blood cells that binds oxygen. When hemoglobin holds oxygen, the blood appears bright red. When it releases that oxygen into the tissues, the color deepens to a darker shade. These shifting tones are another gentle sign of the journey unfolding, though most of it remains hidden from sight beneath the skin. Red blood cells themselves are shaped like small, flexible discs, slightly indented in the center. This form helps them travel easily through narrow capillaries, sometimes bending and folding to pass through spaces even smaller than their resting shape. They carry oxygen faithfully, drifting through the circulation for months, before eventually being replaced by new cells formed in the bone marrow. Even the travelers themselves are part of an ongoing renewal. What makes this system so calming to imagine is its steadiness. The heart does not send blood outward once and then stop. It does not wait for instruction each time. Instead, it repeats the movement endlessly, guiding the rivers of blood through pathways that have been shaped carefully over time. Every cell receives its share of attention, and every cell contributes something back to the flow. You do not need to guide any of this tonight. The body already knows how to maintain the pattern. Even as you lie quietly and listen, blood continues to circle through lungs, heart, arteries, capillaries, and veins. It moves with patience, carrying oxygen like a soft gift to distant places, gathering what must be returned and beginning the journey again. You might imagine these pathways as waterways under moonlight, branching and reconnecting through the quiet terrain of your body. The heart is not forcing the rivers forward with harsh urgency. It simply provides the rhythm that keeps the water moving. With each contraction and relaxation, the current continues. And as these rivers flow through chambers, valves, and vessels, they reveal something quietly beautiful about the body. Life is not a single event, but a constant circulation. What leaves eventually returns. What is given is renewed. Movement itself becomes the way the body stays balanced. If your thoughts begin to wander, that is perfectly fine. They can drift like small boats along these imagined waterways. There is nothing you need to hold tightly. The circulation will continue whether you follow every detail or allow the images to fade gently into the background. You may notice your breathing becoming slower now. Perhaps your shoulders soften a little more. The body understands rhythms like these. The heart beats. The lungs rise and fall. Blood travels its circular path through quiet inner landscapes. And somewhere inside that flowing system, a steady pulse continues to guide the movement, gently opening valves, shaping pressure, and sending each new wave of blood onward. That pulse itself comes from something subtle and fascinating, a quiet electrical signal within the heart that begins each beat before any muscle moves at all. Within the small, steady world of the heart, movement is not only about strength, it is also about timing. Blood does not simply rush through these chambers in all directions. It travels with quiet guidance, moving forward in an orderly rhythm that depends on delicate structures opening and closing at just the right moment. These structures are the valves of the heart. You can imagine them not as heavy doors or rigid gates, but as soft thresholds made of living tissue. They respond to pressure and motion, lifting gently when blood moves forward and settling closed when the flow attempts to turn back. They do not think about their task. They simply respond to the forces around them, again and again, with quiet precision. The heart contains 4 of these valves, each placed carefully along the pathways that blood follows. Their purpose is simple and deeply important. They guide the flow of blood in a single direction, forward, then onward, then forward again. Without them, the rhythm of circulation would become confused. Blood might swell backward, lose pressure, or drift in circles rather than traveling efficiently through the body. The valves ensure that every beat of the heart becomes a purposeful step along the journey. Between the upper chambers and the lower chambers are 2 valves that act like gentle curtains separating rooms. On the right side lies the tricuspid valve. Its thin leaflets open when blood moves from the right atrium down into the right ventricle. When the ventricle prepares to contract, the pressure shifts, and those leaflets float together, closing the passage so the blood cannot slip backward. On the left side sits the mitral valve, sometimes called the bicuspid valve. It performs the same quiet task between the left atrium and the left ventricle. Blood enters, the leaflets lift, and when the ventricle squeezes, they close again with soft precision. If you imagine these valves in motion, they do not slam or swing. They respond almost like fabric moving in water, rising and settling with the changing currents inside the heart. Inside the ventricles, fine cords known as chordae tendineae anchor these valves to small muscular structures called papillary muscles. These cords are thin but strong, like delicate threads supporting a canopy. When the ventricles contract, the papillary muscles tighten slightly, helping keep the valve leaflets from folding backward. This quiet anchoring system prevents the valves from turning inside out under pressure. Even though the heart pushes blood forward with considerable force, these slender cords ensure that the leaflets remain stable and properly aligned. It is a beautiful example of balance, strength supported by subtlety. At the exits of the ventricles are 2 more valves, each shaped differently from the first pair. These are called semilunar valves because their leaflets resemble small half-moons. One of them guards the entrance to the pulmonary artery, the vessel that carries blood from the heart to the lungs. The other protects the opening of the aorta, the great artery that sends blood outward to the entire body. When a ventricle contracts, pressure pushes blood through these openings, and the curved leaflets fold gently against the vessel walls. Once the contraction ends and the pressure begins to fall, the blood tries to drift backward. That returning motion fills the small pockets of the valve leaflets, causing them to meet and close. The closure is smooth and immediate, forming a seal that keeps blood from returning to the chamber it just left. This sequence of opening and closing happens with every heartbeat. Lift, flow, close, then again. Over the course of a lifetime, these valves may open and close billions of times, yet they are built to endure the repetition. Their tissue is flexible but resilient, able to move freely without wearing away quickly. You rarely notice them. Their work remains silent. And yet, the familiar sound often associated with the heartbeat, the soft rhythm doctors describe as lub-dub, comes largely from these valves closing. When the valves between the atria and ventricles close, they create the first sound. When the semilunar valves close at the exits of the ventricles, they create the second. The heart itself is not striking like a drum. It is the valves settling into place, guiding the flow with quiet authority. Within this rhythm lies an elegant choreography. Each valve waits for its moment. None move randomly, Each responds precisely to the pressure changes created by the beating heart. The opening of one prepares the closing of another. The closing of one sets the stage for the next movement forward. It is like watching a series of gentle gates along a river, each lifting just long enough for water to pass before settling again. In this way, the valves protect the direction of circulation. Blood leaves the atria and enters the ventricles. Blood leaves the ventricles and enters the great vessels. And from there, it travels outward into the branching network of arteries. The valves do not push the blood themselves. They simply make sure that once blood moves forward, it does not wander back. Such a quiet task, yet so essential. If one valve fails to close completely, blood may leak backward in a condition known as regurgitation. If one becomes stiff and narrow, it may restrict the flow forward, a situation called stenosis. Even these medical terms reveal how important the valves are in maintaining the calm order of circulation. But in a healthy heart, these tiny structures perform their work so gracefully that they pass unnoticed through every hour of life. Right now, even as you rest, those valves are opening and closing within you. You do not need to guide them. You do not need to think about their timing. The body carries the knowledge already. Blood arrives, the valve opens, the chamber fills, the valve closes, the heart contracts, another valve opens, the blood moves onward, then again and again. The rhythm is steady, quiet, almost hypnotic in its reliability. You might imagine these valves like soft doors in a peaceful house, opening briefly to let a traveler pass, then closing gently behind them so the journey continues forward. No confusion, no hesitation, only motion guided with patience and care. The remarkable thing is how small these structures are compared to the vast system they help control. Thin flaps of tissue, no larger than a few centimeters, quietly directing the circulation that sustains every organ in the body. It is a reminder that the body often relies on subtle mechanisms rather than dramatic ones. Small movements, quiet responses, precise timing. And yet, from these small movements comes the stability of the entire system. If you let your thoughts soften now, you might picture the heart as a series of calm rooms connected by these gentle thresholds. Blood enters one space, then passes through another, guided by the soft opening of valves that know exactly when to lift and when to rest. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wasted. Each beat becomes a carefully guided wave moving forward through the body. And as these silent doors open and close in their endless rhythm, they make it possible for something even more subtle to unfold within the heart. A hidden signal that begins each beat before the valves move, before the muscle tightens, before the blood begins its journey again. If you rest quietly with the thought of the heart for a moment, you might notice something curious about its rhythm. The chambers fill, the valves move, the muscle tightens, and the blood flows onward. Then the pattern repeats again. It is steady, patient, and dependable. Yet beneath that visible movement lies something even more subtle, something that begins each beat before any muscle contracts at all. Deep within the upper portion of the heart lives a small cluster of specialized cells known as the sinoatrial node. It sits quietly within the wall of the right atrium, no larger than a grain of rice, and yet it holds a remarkable responsibility. These cells generate tiny electrical impulses that spread through the heart and begin each new cycle of motion. You can think of it almost like a lantern being lit in the quiet of evening. A small glow appears first in one place, and then the light spreads outward, gently illuminating the path ahead. The cells of the sinoatrial node have a unique ability. Unlike most cells in the body, they do not wait for a signal from the brain to begin their work. They slowly change their electrical charge all on their own, building toward a threshold until a pulse of energy releases. That pulse travels through the surrounding tissue, inviting the nearby heart muscle cells to contract. In this way, the heart carries its own natural pacing system. The rhythm that guides your circulation begins from within the heart itself. The electrical signal moves outward from the sinoatrial node across the walls of the atria. As it travels, it encourages the muscle cells of these upper chambers to tighten in a coordinated wave. This contraction gently pushes blood downward into the ventricles waiting below. The motion is not chaotic. It spreads like ripples across a calm pond, each area responding just after the one before it. The sequence ensures that blood moves in the proper direction, guided by timing rather than force alone. But the signal does not rush immediately into the ventricles. Instead, it pauses briefly at another cluster of specialized cells known as the atrioventricular node. This small region sits between the atria and ventricles, acting almost like a quiet gatekeeper. The pause is short, only a fraction of a second, yet it serves an important purpose. It allows the atria to finish their gentle push of blood into the ventricles before the larger chambers begin their stronger contraction. Without this small delay, the rhythm of the heart would lose its coordination. You might imagine the signal like a traveler who briefly stops at a doorway before continuing deeper into the house. From the atrioventricular node, the electrical impulse travels down a pathway known as the bundle of His. This narrow route carries the signal toward the lower chambers of the heart. Soon, the pathway divides, sending branches along the walls of the ventricles through fibers that spread widely through the muscle. And these fibers deliver the signal to many areas of the ventricular muscle almost at once. As a result, the ventricles contract together in a powerful and coordinated movement, pushing blood outward into the great arteries. It is a remarkable choreography. First, the atria contract softly, then a moment of stillness. Then the ventricles respond with strength. All of this unfolds in less than a second, guided by electrical impulses that are far too small to feel, yet perfectly capable of organizing the motion of the entire heart. This electrical activity can be measured with sensitive instruments. Doctors often observe it through a test called an electrocardiogram, which records the tiny changes in voltage as the signal moves through the heart. On the tracing, the rhythm appears as a series of gentle peaks and curves, each one representing a phase of the heartbeat. Yet even without instruments, the effect of that signal is present in every pulse you feel. What is especially calming about this system is its independence. The heart does not need constant instruction from the brain to keep beating. The pacemaker cells within the sinoatrial node generate their rhythm naturally. Signals from the nervous system can speed the heart up or slow it down when needed, but the underlying pulse arises quietly from within the heart itself. It is as though the body has placed a small metronome at the center of your chest, one that keeps time through every moment of your life. This self-starting rhythm also explains why the heart continues beating even when removed from the body for short periods during certain medical procedures. As long as the cells remain alive and supplied with oxygen, they can continue generating electrical impulses for a while. The rhythm lives within the tissue itself. Of course, in the body, this electrical activity is closely connected to the nervous system. Nerves traveling from the brain release chemical signals that influence how quickly the sinoatrial node fires. When you exercise or feel excitement, these signals encourage the heart to beat faster. When you rest or sleep, they allow the rhythm to slow. The electrical system remains flexible, adjusting its pace to match the needs of the moment. Still, the basic pattern remains beautifully consistent. Each beat begins with that quiet spark in the sinoatrial node. The signal spreads across the atria. It pauses gently in the atrioventricular node. And then it travels downward through the conducting pathways until the ventricles contract. Spark, wave, pause, release. Then the cycle begins again. You might imagine these signals like lanterns lighting one after another along a calm evening path. First, a glow appears at the beginning of the walkway. Then another light awakens farther along. Soon the whole path is softly illuminated, guiding the traveler forward without confusion. The heart follows a similar pattern, guided not by light, but by tiny electrical currents moving through living tissue. There is something deeply reassuring about that order. The rhythm of your life is not random. It is organized by cells that know their role, responding to the quiet laws of biology that shape every heartbeat. And even now, as you rest and listen, that silent signal continues to appear again and again within the dark interior of the heart. You do not need to notice it. You do not need to guide it. The pacemaker cells are already doing their work. A spark forms. The wave travels. The chambers respond. The blood moves onward. Then everything softens again before the next signal rises. If your breathing has grown slower by now, that is perfectly natural. The heart often follows the calm of the body, settling into a gentler rhythm when the mind grows quiet. The electrical pulses become slightly farther apart, but they remain steady, continuing their patient cycle through the night. And as those signals move through the heart, they awaken the muscle itself, inviting the chambers to tighten and release with extraordinary endurance. That tireless muscle, working beat after beat for a lifetime, holds another story of quiet strength waiting to be explored. Now that you have followed the quiet signals that begin each heartbeat, your attention can drift toward the muscle that answers those signals. Beneath the gentle rhythm of electricity lies the substance that actually moves the blood. The walls of the heart are made of a special kind of muscle, known as cardiac muscle, and it is unlike any other muscle in your body. When you lift your arm or take a step, the muscles involved respond to conscious intention. You decide to move, and the muscles obey. But the heart belongs to a different rhythm of life. Its muscle contracts without waiting for your thoughts. It responds instead to the steady electrical impulses that travel through it, turning invisible signals into motion. This muscle is built for constancy rather than bursts of effort. Skeletal muscles can tire after long activity, needing rest before they are ready again. The muscle of the heart, however, is shaped for endurance. Its cells contract, relax, refill with energy, and contract again in a repeating pattern that can continue for decades without pause. You might imagine the heart not as a laborer straining under heavy work, but as a patient rower guiding a boat through calm water. Each movement is steady and measured. The rhythm continues without urgency, without sudden exhaustion, simply repeating the same gentle motion again and again. At the microscopic level, the cells of cardiac muscle are arranged in branching patterns that allow them to connect closely with one another. Unlike many other muscle cells that run in long parallel lines, these cells form a network. They touch end to end through structures called intercalated discs, tiny junctions that allow electrical signals and chemical changes to pass quickly between neighboring cells. Because of these connections, when one area of the heart muscle receives an electrical impulse, nearby cells respond almost instantly. The contraction spreads smoothly through the tissue rather than occurring in isolated patches. This coordination allows the chambers of the heart to tighten as a unified movement, pushing blood forward efficiently. Inside each muscle cell are countless microscopic filaments made of proteins that slide past one another during contraction. These proteins, primarily actin and myosin, interact in response to electrical signals and changes in calcium levels within the cell. As they slide together, the cell shortens slightly, and when millions of cells shorten together, the entire chamber of the heart tightens. Then the process reverses. Calcium levels shift again, the filaments relax, and the muscle lengthens. The chamber opens, ready to fill with blood once more. This cycle of contraction and relaxation is sometimes called the cardiac cycle, though you do not need to remember that phrase tonight. It simply describes the repeating motion that allows blood to move through the heart in waves. What is remarkable is how carefully the heart muscle protects itself from fatigue. Each contraction is followed by a brief relaxation period during which the cells restore their energy supplies. This pause is built into the rhythm itself. Even though the heart beats continuously, that each individual cell experiences tiny moments of recovery between contractions. Energy for this work comes from molecules known as ATP, produced within the cell's mitochondria. Heart muscle cells contain a large number of these energy-producing structures, far more than many other types of cells. They act like quiet power stations, converting oxygen and nutrients from the blood into the energy needed for each contraction. Because the heart depends so heavily on oxygen to maintain this energy supply, it is richly supported by the coronary arteries that spread across its surface. These vessels deliver oxygenated blood directly to the heart muscle, ensuring that it receives the resources required to continue its steady work. When the heart relaxes between beats, blood flows through these coronary vessels, nourishing the muscle cells. It is a gentle reminder that even the organ responsible for circulating blood must also be cared for by the same circulation. Another quality that makes cardiac muscle unique is its resistance to uncontrolled contractions. In skeletal muscles, rapid, repeated signals can cause sustained tightening, known as tetanus. If this happened in the heart, it would prevent the chambers from relaxing and filling with blood. Fortunately, cardiac muscle cells have built-in electrical properties that prevent this from occurring. After each contraction, the cells experience a period during which they cannot immediately contract again. This refractory period ensures that every contraction is followed by relaxation, preserving the rhythm that keeps blood moving smoothly through the body. You might imagine this as a natural pause in music. Each note is followed by a brief silence before the next begins. Without those pauses, the melody would become noise. The heart maintains its harmony through similar moments of rest between beats. Over the course of a single day, The heart may beat around 100,000 times, depending on activity and rest. Over the span of an entire lifetime, that number grows into the billions. Yet, despite this astonishing repetition, the heart muscle rarely complains. Its structure, energy systems, and electrical coordination all work together to support this remarkable endurance. This quiet devotion is not dramatic. There is no sense of strain or urgency most of the time. The heart simply continues, beat after beat, supporting every breath, every step, every moment of thought. Even as you lie still now, the muscle within your chest is performing this patient work. The ventricles tighten, pushing blood into the arteries. Then they relax again, allowing the chambers to refill. The pattern repeats with gentle certainty. There is nothing you need to manage here. The heart understands its task completely. Its muscle fibers respond to electrical signals, its cells produce energy, and its chambers move in coordination without requiring your attention. If your breathing grows slower as you listen, the heart often responds by easing its rhythm slightly. The spaces between beats may lengthen just a little, creating a calmer pace throughout the body. This quiet adjustment is one more example of the heart's remarkable sensitivity to the state of the body. Sleep reminder here. You can let your shoulders relax more deeply now. The steady work of the heart continues, whether you follow each detail or allow your thoughts to drift gently away. The muscle will contract. The chambers will fill. Blood will continue its circular journey through lungs and tissues. And as this tireless muscle carries out its lifelong rhythm, it becomes natural to wonder how such a system first began. Long before the body grew to its adult form, before lungs breathed their first breath, the heart itself was already beginning to form and beat in the earliest stages of life. If you allow your thoughts to drift backward through time, far beyond memory and far before your first breath, the story of the heart begins in a place of remarkable quiet. Long before you could see, hear, or feel the world around you, your body was slowly assembling itself in darkness. Cells were dividing, arranging, and communicating in delicate ways that no eye could witness. Within that gentle unfolding, the first hints of the heart began to appear. In the earliest days of development, the heart does not yet resemble the strong chambered structure you carry today. At first, it begins as a simple group of specialized cells forming within the growing embryo. These cells gather in a narrow region that will eventually become the center of circulation. Even at this early stage, the body is already preparing for movement, for the quiet flow of nutrients and oxygen that will sustain further growth. Gradually, these early heart cells organize themselves into a small tube. It is delicate and thin, almost transparent in appearance, and yet it holds an astonishing promise. This primitive heart tube is one of the first structures in the developing body to begin working. Before the lungs exist, before bones harden, before the brain begins its complex wiring, this simple tube prepares to move fluid through the tiny body that surrounds it. Soon after it forms, the tube begins to pulse. At first, the motion is gentle and irregular, more like a soft twitch than a powerful beat. But the cells that make up this early heart already carry the same remarkable ability found in the adult organ. They can generate their own electrical signals. These signals spread through the tissue, causing the cells to contract in a small rhythmic motion. This first pulsing happens quietly, unnoticed by the outside world. Yet it marks one of the earliest rhythms of life. As development continues, the straight heart tube begins to bend and curve. It folds in a graceful arc, a process known as cardiac looping. This transformation allows the structure to begin forming separate chambers that will eventually guide blood in different directions. The tube does not simply grow larger, it reshapes itself carefully, turning and folding like a ribbon finding its proper form. Within this growing structure, partitions slowly develop. These partitions create spaces that will become the atria and ventricles. At the same time, the beginnings of valves and major vessels start to appear, preparing the heart for the more complex circulation that will be needed after birth. All of this takes place in an environment that remains warm, fluid, and protected. The developing heart is surrounded by amniotic fluid and nourished through the placenta, and receiving oxygen and nutrients through the mother's circulation. The heart's early task is not yet to supply the lungs with blood, since breathing has not begun. Instead, it participates in a temporary circulation system unique to life before birth. Blood moves through special pathways that bypass the lungs, which remain folded and inactive until the moment of first breath. These pathways allow oxygen-rich blood from the placenta to travel through the developing body efficiently. The heart works in partnership with this system, guiding the flow through routes designed specifically for this stage of life. What is remarkable is how quickly the heart begins its work. In the developing embryo, this first rhythmic pulsing appears only a few weeks after conception. At a time when the body is still smaller than a fingertip, the heart has already begun to beat. You might imagine this moment as the quiet lighting of a lantern in a dark landscape. A soft flicker appears, and from that point onward, the light continues, growing steadier with time. As the weeks pass, the chambers of the heart become more distinct. The walls grow stronger. Valves begin to take shape, ensuring that blood will move forward through the heart without flowing backward. The pathways connecting the heart to the great vessels widen and strengthen, preparing for the increasing demands of the growing body. Inside the developing heart, muscle cells multiply and organize themselves into the layered structure that will later produce powerful contractions. Electrical pathways also form, guiding the signals that coordinate each heartbeat. Even at this early stage, the foundations of the adult heart's rhythm are quietly taking shape. Throughout this time, the heart continues beating steadily. It grows larger as the body grows, adjusting its rhythm and strength to match the needs of the developing tissues. Blood carries oxygen and nutrients to every emerging organ, helping each part of the body form and mature. You do not remember any of this, of course. These early rhythms unfold before consciousness has begun to gather its memories. And yet, the heart you carry tonight has been beating since those early days, long before your first cry or your first step. As birth approaches, the circulation of the body prepares for a dramatic transition. The moment a newborn takes its first breath, the lungs expand and begin exchanging oxygen directly with the air. This change alters the pressure within the heart and vessels, prompting certain fetal pathways to close, while others take on new roles. Openings that once allowed blood to bypass the lungs gradually seal. The valves and chambers now guide blood through the lungs before it travels outward to the rest of the body. The heart shifts smoothly into the pattern that will sustain life beyond the womb. This transformation happens naturally, guided by changes in pressure and oxygen levels. The heart adapts almost immediately, continuing its steady rhythm through the transition from prenatal life to the world outside. From that moment onward, the heart carries its familiar task through every stage of life. It grows stronger through childhood, adjusts its pace through adolescence, and settles into the steady rhythms of adulthood. Through sleep and waking, through stillness and movement, the heart continues beating with patient reliability. There is something deeply comforting about this continuity. The same organ that first pulsed softly within the quiet darkness of early development remains with you now, guiding the circulation that sustains every breath you take. And even tonight, as you rest and listen, the heart continues the rhythm it began long before memory formed. You do not need to follow every detail of its early story. You can simply notice the quiet wonder that something so complex begins with such a small and gentle beginning. A few cells gathering together, a tube beginning to pulse, a rhythm forming in the dark. From that first flicker of movement, the heart grows into the steady companion you carry through every moment of life. And as the body continues to grow and change through the years, the heart adapts alongside it, adjusting its pace and strength to match the unfolding journey of time. The heart that beats within you tonight is not exactly the same heart that once beat inside a newborn body. It carries the same rhythm, the same essential structure, the same quiet dedication to circulation. Yet across the years, it grows, adjusts, and reshapes itself in subtle ways, responding to the changing landscape of the body it serves. In the earliest days after birth, the heart is still small, working within a body that is itself just beginning to discover the world. A newborn's heart beats quickly, often much faster than the heart of an adult. This is not a sign of strain. It is simply the rhythm that suits a tiny body whose cells are growing rapidly and whose metabolism runs at a lively pace. With each gentle contraction, the heart sends blood through vessels that are still forming their long-term patterns. The lungs, newly awakened by the first breath, now receive their full share of circulation. The pathways that once guided blood around the lungs in the womb have quietly closed, allowing the familiar pattern of adult circulation to begin. As childhood unfolds, the heart grows along with the body. Its chambers widen slightly, its muscular walls strengthen, and its ability to move blood through the circulation increases. The heart rate gradually slows compared to infancy, settling into a rhythm that matches the growing body's needs. Children often move quickly, run easily, and recover from exertion with surprising speed. Their hearts respond with flexibility, accelerating when activity increases and calming again during moments of rest. The system is responsive, elastic, and energetic, supporting the constant motion that often fills early years. Through adolescence, the body experiences another wave of change. Bones lengthen, muscles develop, and the circulatory system adapts to new proportions. The heart grows slightly larger and stronger, able to move greater volumes of blood with each beat. At the same time, the rhythm becomes more efficient. The heart does not need to beat as rapidly to deliver the same supply of oxygen and nutrients. This efficiency is partly due to the heart's remarkable ability to adjust its stroke volume, the amount of blood it pushes forward with each contraction. As the chambers expand and the muscle strengthens, each beat carries a little more blood into the arteries. The heart learns to work with calm effectiveness, rather than speed alone. By the time adulthood arrives, the heart has usually reached its mature size. For most people, it weighs only a few hundred grams, yet it continues to perform an extraordinary task. Every minute, it sends blood through a vast network of vessels, reaching nearly every cell in the body. In adulthood, the resting heart rate often settles into a steady range, slower than during childhood, but ready to respond whenever the body requires more oxygen. Exercise, emotion, temperature, and even posture can gently influence the pace of the heart. When you stand up, the heart may beat slightly faster to maintain blood flow to the brain. When you run or climb stairs, it increases its rhythm to supply working muscles with oxygen. When you sleep, it often slows again, matching the quieter needs of the resting body. The heart is always listening. Signals from the nervous system, hormones released into the bloodstream, and changes in oxygen levels all influence its pace. Yet, despite these variations, the fundamental pattern remains beautifully consistent. Contraction follows relaxation. Blood moves forward. The cycle repeats. Over time, the heart also adapts to the habits of the body it serves. Regular physical activity can strengthen the heart muscle, allowing it to pump blood more efficiently. In well-trained individuals, the resting heart rate may become slower because each beat delivers more blood. This is not a sign of weakness, but of efficiency. The heart learns to accomplish the same work with fewer movements, much like a skilled rower whose strokes are smooth and powerful rather than hurried. Even the tiny blood vessels within the heart muscle can adapt. With sustained activity, the coronary circulation may expand slightly, improving the delivery of oxygen to the hard-working cells of the myocardium. These adjustments are part of the heart's quiet resilience. It responds not only to the immediate needs of the moment, but also to the long patterns of a person's life. As the years continue, the body inevitably changes again. The heart remains remarkably durable, yet it too reflects the passage of time. The walls of arteries may grow less flexible, requiring the heart to work a little harder to maintain the same flow of blood. Inside the heart itself, now certain tissues may become slightly stiffer, and the electrical pathways that guide the heartbeat can shift subtly. These changes are often gradual and natural, part of the body's ongoing story rather than signs of sudden trouble. Despite these shifts, the heart usually continues its steady work for decades. Many people live long lives supported by a rhythm that began before birth and continues through countless experiences, joys, and quiet nights like this one. One of the most comforting aspects of the heart is its capacity to adapt. It does not demand perfection from the body. Instead, it adjusts its rhythm, strength, and timing to match the circumstances around it. If the body needs more oxygen, the heart speeds its pace. If the body rests, the heart settles. If activity becomes regular, the heart grows stronger. And this adaptability is part of what allows the heart to accompany a person through every stage of life. From the rapid rhythm of infancy to the steady pace of adulthood, from moments of excitement to long hours of sleep, the heart remains a faithful companion. It responds to the world outside while maintaining the quiet circulation that keeps life moving within. And even now, as you listen and allow your breathing to slow, the heart continues adjusting gently to the calm of the moment. Each beat carries oxygen through your body, supporting the countless small processes that keep you alive and well. You do not need to guide it. The heart has learned its work through years of steady practice. It has adapted to growth, to movement, to rest, and to the subtle rhythms of your daily life. And as the heart continues to accompany the body through changing years, it also works in close partnership with another essential rhythm, one that rises and falls with every breath you take. If you rest quietly for a moment, you may notice two rhythms unfolding within you at the same time. One is the gentle rise and fall of your breathing. The other is the steady pulse of your heart. These two rhythms move at different speeds, yet they are closely connected, like two dancers following the same quiet music. Every breath you take begins a subtle exchange that the heart is always ready to support. When air enters your lungs, it travels through branching airways that become smaller and finer as they reach deeper into the chest. Eventually, the air arrives in tiny sacs called alveoli. These delicate structures are soft and numerous. They're filling the lungs like clusters of microscopic balloons. Their walls are extremely thin, designed for one simple but remarkable purpose. They allow gases to pass gently between air and blood. Surrounding each alveolus is a network of tiny capillaries. Blood flows through these vessels slowly enough for a quiet exchange to occur. Oxygen from the air moves across the thin membrane into the blood, while carbon dioxide, a byproduct of cellular activity, moves in the opposite direction. This exchange is not forced or hurried. It happens through diffusion, a natural process in which molecules move from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration. Oxygen simply drifts toward the blood where it is needed. Carbon dioxide drifts toward the air where it can be released. The heart plays an essential role in making this exchange possible. Blood arriving at the lungs from the right side of the heart carries less oxygen because it has already delivered much of its supply to the body's tissues. After passing through the capillaries of the lungs and gathering fresh oxygen, that blood travels back to the left side of the heart. From there, the heart sends it outward again to nourish the rest of the body. In this way, the heart and lungs form a quiet partnership. The lungs refresh the blood with oxygen. The heart carries that oxygen to every cell that needs it. Neither system works alone. You might imagine the lungs as a garden of soft air-filled spaces, and the heart as the gentle pump that keeps water flowing through the garden's channels. Without the movement of blood, oxygen would remain trapped in the lungs. Without the oxygen gathered in the lungs, the heart would have little to deliver. Together, they create a continuous circle. As oxygen travels through the arteries and into the capillaries of the body, it leaves the blood and enters nearby cells. Those cells use oxygen to produce the energy required for everything from muscle movement to the quiet activity of the brain. At the same time, carbon dioxide forms as a natural result of these processes. This gas must be removed so that it does not accumulate within the tissues. Blood carries it back through the veins toward the heart, which then sends it to the lungs where it can be released with the next exhale. So every breath you take participates in this quiet cycle. Inhale, oxygen enters. Circulation carries it outward. Cells use it to create energy. Carbon dioxide forms and returns. Exhale, the body releases what it no longer needs. The heart and lungs continue this exchange moment after moment, rarely drawing attention to themselves. There is another gentle connection between these rhythms that you might notice if you listen carefully. When you inhale, your heart rate often speeds up slightly. When you exhale, it slows again. This subtle shift is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Despite the intimidating name, it is actually a sign of healthy coordination between the heart and the nervous system. The nerves that regulate the heart respond to the movement of breathing. As the chest expands and contracts, signals travel through the body that adjust the timing of each beat. The result is a quiet conversation between breath and pulse, each one influencing the other in small ways. If your breathing becomes slower and deeper, the heart often follows by settling into a calmer rhythm. This is one reason slow breathing can feel so relaxing. The nervous system senses the gentle pace and signals the heart to ease its work slightly. Blood pressure may soften. Muscles may release tension. You do not need to guide this process consciously tonight. Simply breathing in a calm, natural way is enough for the body to recognize that the moment is peaceful. Within the bloodstream, oxygen is carried primarily by hemoglobin, the same molecule that gives blood its deep red color. Each hemoglobin molecule can bind oxygen molecules, holding them until the blood reaches tissues where oxygen is needed. When the blood enters capillaries near active cells, now the oxygen detaches and diffuses into the surrounding tissue. Hemoglobin then travels onward, ready to collect more oxygen during the next pass through the lungs. This quiet cycle continues thousands of times each day. Even as you sleep, oxygen flows into the lungs and through the bloodstream. The heart continues sending blood through arteries, capillaries, and veins. Cells continue using oxygen to sustain their gentle work. There is something deeply comforting in this steady cooperation. Breath and heartbeat, air and blood, exchange and return. The body does not treat these processes as separate events. They form one continuous system of life moving through you. You might imagine the lungs as wide, calm sails filling with air, while the heart acts like a steady current, carrying that breath's gift through the body's waterways. With every inhale, the sails open. With every beat, the current moves forward. And then everything softens again as the body prepares for the next cycle. Sleep reminder here. If your breathing has slowed by now, that is perfectly natural. The body often finds its quiet rhythm when the mind begins to settle. You do not need to control the breath or measure it carefully. Simply allow the air to move in and out with ease. The heart will continue its patient work beside it. Even now, as oxygen travels through your blood and into your cells, the heart is also listening to other signals carried through the body. Hormones, nerves, and chemical messengers drift through the bloodstream, quietly informing the heart about the state of the body. And through those signals, the heart becomes part of a larger conversation, responding gently to messages that guide its rhythm from moment to moment. As the night grows quieter and your breathing settles into an easy rhythm, the heart continues its steady work within a much larger conversation. The body is never silent inside. Even when you are resting deeply, messages move gently through nerves and blood, carrying information from one place to another. These signals do not shout or demand attention. They travel softly, like whispers moving through a peaceful house, and the heart listens carefully to every one of them. Your heart does not beat in isolation. It is constantly receiving guidance from the nervous system, which acts like a quiet network of messengers spreading through the body. Two branches of this system influence the heart in different ways. One encourages activity, preparing the body for movement or alertness. The other encourages rest, allowing the body to slow and recover. Together, they form a delicate balance that shapes the rhythm of each heartbeat. When you feel calm, signals from the resting branch of the nervous system gently reach the heart. These signals slow the firing of the heart's pacemaker cells, allowing more time between beats. The heart rate softens, the pulse becomes steadier, and the body enters a state of quiet efficiency. This is the rhythm that often appears when you lie comfortably in bed, breathing slowly, letting the weight of the day dissolve. At other times, different signals arrive. If you stand suddenly or begin to move quickly, the body prepares for action. Nerves carry messages that encourage the heart to beat faster and pump more strongly. Blood moves with greater speed, ensuring that muscles and organs receive the oxygen they need. This adjustment happens automatically. You do not need to instruct your heart to respond. It listens and answers on its own. Hormones also travel through the bloodstream as part of this quiet communication. These chemical messengers are released by glands and carried to distant organs where they influence behavior and function. One hormone often associated with alertness and excitement is adrenaline. When adrenaline reaches the heart, it encourages the muscle to contract more forcefully and increases the rate at which electrical signals are generated. The effect is temporary and purposeful. It prepares the body for situations that require energy or attention. Once the moment passes, hormone levels settle again, and the heart gradually returns to its calmer rhythm. There are many other hormones that influence the heart in more subtle ways. Thyroid hormones, for example, affect the body's metabolism and can gently influence heart rate over longer periods. Other hormones help regulate the volume of fluid in the bloodstream, adjusting how much blood the heart must move with each beat. Through these chemical messages, the heart remains connected to the needs of the entire body. Temperature also sends quiet signals that shape the rhythm of the heart. When the body grows warm, blood vessels near the skin widen slightly, allowing heat to escape into the surrounding air. To maintain circulation through these expanded pathways, the heart may beat a little faster. When the body grows cold, the opposite happens. Blood vessels narrow, conserving warmth, and the heart may adjust its rhythm accordingly. Even posture changes can influence the heart's behavior. When you lie down, gravity affects blood flow differently than when you stand. More blood returns easily to the heart, and the body senses this shift through specialized receptors within blood vessels. In response, the heart rate may slow slightly, reflecting the ease of circulation in this restful position. Emotion too sends messages that the heart can hear. Feelings such as joy, surprise, anxiety, or excitement trigger subtle changes within the nervous system. These changes ripple outward through nerves and hormones, gently shaping the rhythm of the heart. A sudden thrill may cause a brief quickening of the pulse. A peaceful moment may allow the rhythm to settle once again. These responses do not mean that the heart is controlled by emotion alone. Instead, emotion becomes one voice among many within the body's communication network. The heart listens to all of them, responding in ways that help maintain balance. Inside the walls of major blood vessels are tiny sensors known as baroreceptors. These receptors monitor blood pressure and send signals to the brain about the force of blood moving through the arteries. If pressure rises too high, the brain responds by encouraging the heart to slow slightly and blood vessels to relax. If pressure falls too low, signals may prompt the heart to beat faster. This quiet feedback system helps keep circulation stable throughout the day. Another set of sensors, known as chemoreceptors, detect changes in the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide within the blood. If carbon dioxide rises or oxygen falls, these receptors send signals that influence breathing and heart rate. The heart responds by adjusting its rhythm so that oxygen delivery to the tissues remains sufficient. Once again, this happens automatically. The heart is not making decisions in the way the mind does. Instead, it responds to a continuous stream of information flowing through nerves and blood. It listens, adjusts, and continues its work. You might imagine this communication as a gentle breeze moving across a still lake. The water does not resist or struggle. It simply forms small ripples that follow the direction of the wind. In a similar way, the heart shifts its rhythm slightly in response to the messages it receives. Sometimes the change is noticeable, like the quickening of the pulse during exercise. At other times, it is barely perceptible, a small adjustment that keeps the body balanced without drawing attention. Through all these signals, nervous impulses, hormonal messages, changes in temperature, posture, and chemistry, the heart remains part of a vast conversation unfolding inside you. And even now, as you lie quietly listening, that conversation continues in the background. Sensors observe the state of the body. Nerves carry their information. Hormones drift through the bloodstream. The heart responds gently, keeping circulation steady and reliable. There is nothing you need to manage within this system. The body already understands how to maintain its balance. Each message finds its way to the places where it is needed, and the heart continues its patient rhythm in response. If your thoughts begin to wander, that is perfectly natural. You can allow them to drift while the quiet communication within your body carries on. The heart will continue listening. The blood will continue moving. The signals will continue guiding the rhythm of life. And as these messages travel through vessels and tissues, they reveal how the heart sits not at the center alone, but within a vast map of pathways that extend throughout the body, reaching every organ and every cell in an intricate network of circulation. When you imagine the heart working quietly within the chest, it can be easy to picture it as a small center of motion, sending blood outward and receiving it again. But the heart is only one part of a much wider landscape. Stretching outward from it is a network so vast that it reaches every living corner of your body. If all the blood vessels inside you were laid end to end, they would extend for tens of thousands of kilometers, forming a map of pathways more intricate than any road system built by human hands. From the heart's strong left ventricle, blood enters the aorta, the great artery that curves upward like the trunk of a tall tree before arching down through the chest and abdomen. This vessel is wide and resilient, built with thick elastic walls that can stretch slightly with each pulse of blood and then return to their original shape. That elasticity helps smooth the flow of circulation, transforming each heartbeat into a steady wave rather than a sudden surge. From the aorta, smaller arteries branch outward in many directions. Some travel toward the brain and face, others toward the arms, the organs of the abdomen, and the muscles of the legs. These arteries divide again and again, becoming narrower each time they split. Like the branches of a great tree, they extend farther and farther from the trunk, reaching every region where living cells require nourishment. As the arteries narrow, their walls change slightly in structure. The largest arteries contain thick, elastic fibers that allow them to stretch with each heartbeat. Smaller arteries, often called arterioles, contain more smooth muscle in their walls. This muscle can contract or relax to adjust the diameter of the vessel, helping regulate how much blood flows into different areas of the body. In this way, the circulatory system is not only a set of pathways, but also a system capable of subtle adjustments. When muscles become active during movement, nearby arterioles may widen, allowing more blood to reach the working tissues. When the body rests, those vessels may narrow again, directing circulation toward other organs. Eventually, these branching arteries become so fine that they transform into capillaries. Capillaries are the smallest blood vessels in the body, so narrow that red blood cells often pass through them one at a time. Their walls are extremely thin, consisting of just a single layer of cells. This delicate structure allows oxygen, nutrients, and other substances to pass easily between the blood and the surrounding tissues. Here, deep within the quiet neighborhoods of the body, the exchange that sustains life takes place. Oxygen moves from the blood into nearby cells. Nutrients such as glucose follow similar pathways. At the same time, waste products and carbon dioxide leave the cells and enter the bloodstream, preparing to be carried away. The flow through capillaries is slow and gentle, almost like water drifting through a meadow after a rainfall. This slow movement ensures that the exchange between blood and tissue has enough time to occur. Once blood has passed through the capillaries, it begins its return journey through the venous side of the circulation. The smallest vessels now become venules, which gradually merge into larger veins. These veins carry blood back toward the heart, often against the pull of gravity. To assist in this return, many veins contain small valves that help prevent blood from flowing backward. Surrounding muscles also play a role. As you move your legs or arms, muscles gently compress nearby veins, helping push blood along its path toward the chest. Unlike arteries, veins have thinner walls and larger internal spaces. They do not rely on strong pressure from the heart alone. Instead, they function as quiet channels guiding the returning flow. Eventually, the largest veins converge near the heart, delivering blood once again to the right atrium. From there, the circulation continues its familiar cycle through the lungs and back out to the body. Within this vast network, blood pressure plays an important role. Pressure is simply the force that pushes blood through the vessels. It is highest in the large arteries closest to the heart, where the force of each heartbeat is strongest. As blood travels through smaller arteries and capillaries, that pressure gradually decreases. By the time blood reaches the veins, the pressure is much lower, yet the gentle pull of circulation continues, supported by the movement of muscles and the subtle shifts of breathing. Blood pressure is carefully regulated by the body through a combination of heart activity, vessel diameter, and the total volume of blood within the circulation. Sensors within the arteries detect changes in pressure and send signals to the brain, which can adjust heart rate or vessel tone to maintain balance. This regulation happens constantly, usually without your awareness. Whether you stand up, lie down, walk across a room, or drift into sleep, the circulatory system quietly adapts to maintain steady flow. It is remarkable to think that every moment of your life depends on this map of vessels. The brain relies on a steady supply of oxygen delivered through carefully branching arteries. The kidneys filter blood as it passes through their intricate networks. Muscles receive fuel during movement, while the skin receives circulation that helps regulate body temperature. Even the heart itself depends on its own network of vessels to receive oxygen and nutrients. Yet, despite its enormous complexity, this system works with surprising harmony. Blood leaves the heart through arteries, moves through capillaries where exchange occurs, and returns through veins. The journey forms a continuous loop, a quiet circle that repeats again and again. If you imagine this system from a distance, it might resemble a wide map of rivers and streams flowing across a peaceful landscape. The heart is the source that sends water outward, but the rivers themselves reach far beyond it, weaving through valleys and fields before eventually returning home. Within your body, those rivers are alive with motion. Red blood cells carry oxygen like travelers, delivering gifts to distant villages. Nutrients drift along the current. Signals and hormones raid the same pathways, moving from one organ to another. All of this unfolds beneath the surface of your skin, rarely asking for attention. Even now, as you rest quietly, the heart continues sending blood through this wide circling map. The arteries stretch gently with each pulse. Capillaries exchange oxygen and nutrients in countless tiny places. Veins guide the returning flow back toward the center. You do not need to think about any of it. The body already knows the pathways. The vessels already know the direction. The blood already knows how to move. And as this circulation continues its quiet journey through every region of the body, it also reveals how the heart adjusts its rhythm during the changing tides of daily activity and rest. Throughout the day, the heart listens to the changing rhythm of your life. It is never fixed in one pace for long. Instead, it adjusts gently, like a quiet musician following the rise and fall of a melody. When the body is active, the rhythm grows quicker. When the body rests, the rhythm softens again. This ability to shift its tempo is not a sign of instability. It is a sign of intelligence, of responsiveness, of a system that knows how to follow the needs of the moment. When you begin to move, perhaps by walking, climbing stairs, or reaching for something across the room, your muscles immediately ask for more oxygen. Within seconds, signals from the nervous system encourage the heart to beat faster and pump more blood with each contraction. The arteries widen slightly, allowing a greater flow toward the working muscles. What you feel as a rising pulse is simply the heart answering the call for energy. During exercise, this change becomes more pronounced. The heart beats more rapidly and forcefully, delivering oxygen and nutrients to muscles that are now using energy at a much faster rate. Blood vessels in the skin may also widen to release excess heat, helping regulate body temperature. Meanwhile, the lungs deepen their breathing, drawing in more oxygen to match the increased demand. Yet, even in the midst of this activity, the heart remains orderly. Its rhythm is guided by the same electrical system that governs it during rest. The difference is only in speed and strength, not in purpose. The heart does not lose its calm coordination when it works harder. It simply adjusts the scale of its effort. Once the activity ends, another gentle shift begins. Signals from the nervous system encourage the heart to slow again. Blood vessels gradually return to their usual size. Breathing becomes easier and more regular. This transition from activity back to rest often happens smoothly, like waves settling after a passing wind. The body is built to move between these states of effort and recovery. Neither condition is permanent. The heart understands both equally well. Posture also influences the rhythm of circulation. When you stand, gravity pulls blood slightly toward the lower parts of the body. Sensors within blood vessels detect this shift and signal the heart to respond. The heart rate may rise slightly to ensure that enough blood continues to reach the brain. When you lie down, the effect of gravity changes. Blood returns to the heart more easily, and the heart may not need to work quite as hard. As a result, the pulse often slows gently in this position. This is one reason many people feel calmer when resting horizontally, especially in the quiet of evening. Sleep brings another important change. As the body drifts into deeper stages of rest, the nervous system favors its calmer branch. The signals that encourage relaxation become stronger, while those associated with alertness grow quieter. The heart rate slows, sometimes reaching its lowest levels during the deepest phases of sleep. During these hours, the heart continues to circulate blood faithfully, but its pace reflects the reduced demands of the resting body. Muscles are still. The brain enters slower patterns of activity. Oxygen needs are lower than during waking hours, yet the heart remains attentive even during sleep. If the body requires adjustment, perhaps because breathing shifts or because the sleeper changes position, the heart responds quietly. The rhythm adapts without waking the mind. Throughout the day and night, this pattern of rising and falling tempo continues. Morning activity gradually increases the heart's pace. Afternoon movement may sustain that rhythm. Evening calm allows it to settle once again. This cycle mirrors many other rhythms within the body. Hormones follow daily patterns. Body temperature shifts gently over 24 hours. Even alertness and fatigue rise and fall like tides. The heart is part of this larger choreography, moving with the same natural timing. There is also a remarkable feature known as heart rate variability. Rather than beating at perfectly identical intervals, the heart naturally varies the spacing between beats slightly. This subtle variability reflects the ongoing dialogue between the heart and the nervous system. When the body is healthy and responsive, this variability is often more pronounced. It shows that the heart can adjust easily to signals from breathing, emotion, posture, and movement. The rhythm is flexible rather than rigid, adapting moment by moment to the body's needs. You might think of it as a quiet form of resilience. The heart is not a machine ticking at a single unchanging pace. It is more like a flowing current that shifts gently with the landscape it passes through. As the evening deepens and the body prepares for sleep, many of these signals guide the heart toward a slower rhythm. Breathing becomes softer. Muscles release their tension. The brain gradually shifts toward calmer patterns of activity. Sleep reminder here. You do not need to force this transition tonight. Simply allowing your body to settle naturally is enough. The heart understands the language of rest. It has followed this rhythm countless times before. Each inhale brings a small rise in the pulse. Each exhale allows it to soften again. Beat by beat, the heart adjusts itself to the quiet conditions of the night. Even now, as you listen, the body continues preparing for deeper rest. Circulation remains steady. Blood carries oxygen through the tissues. Cells continue their quiet work of renewal. The heart is simply matching its tempo to the calm around it. And as the body settles into this slower rhythm, it becomes easier to reflect on how the heart quietly protects itself, adapting to challenges and healing when it can. Even a tireless companion like the heart exists within the gentle boundaries of biology. It is strong, resilient, and remarkably devoted to its task. Yet it is also living tissue, shaped by time and influenced by the conditions around it. The heart does not demand perfection from the body, but it does respond to the care it receives. Like a quiet traveler moving through many landscapes, it adapts to the roads it travels. Inside the heart muscle, countless cells continue their work day and night. They contract in coordination, restore their energy, and prepare again for the next movement. These cells are supplied by the coronary arteries, the vessels that wrap around the heart and deliver oxygen and nutrients directly to the muscle itself. As long as this supply remains steady, the heart muscle can continue its work with remarkable endurance. Yet, like any pathway in the body, these vessels can gradually change over time. Within their walls, tiny deposits of fats, cholesterol, and other substances may slowly accumulate. These deposits can form what doctors call plaques, creating gentle narrowings along the interior of the arteries. Often this process unfolds quietly over many years without immediate symptoms. The body has ways of responding to these changes. Blood vessels may widen slightly in other areas, allowing circulation to continue around the narrowing. The heart muscle can also adapt, adjusting its workload and efficiency to maintain steady blood flow. Still, if the narrowing becomes significant, the heart may receive less oxygen during periods of increased demand. In such moments, the heart might send subtle signals, perhaps a feeling of pressure or discomfort during exertion, reminding the body that its pathways benefit from care and attention. These signals are not punishments. They are simply messages, much like the gentle communications that pass between organs throughout the body. They encourage awareness, inviting people to support the health of their circulation through habits that nourish the heart. The body itself is capable of remarkable repair. When tissues experience minor injury, cells often respond by activating processes that promote healing. In the blood vessels, for example, specialized cells can help maintain the inner lining, repairing small areas where damage may have occurred. Within the bloodstream, platelets and clotting proteins stand ready to seal injuries when necessary. Their work helps prevent excessive bleeding and allows damaged tissues to recover. In everyday life, these mechanisms function quietly, repairing countless tiny disruptions without drawing attention. The heart muscle also possesses a certain resilience. When a portion of its tissue experiences stress, neighboring cells may adjust their work slightly, sharing the effort so that the overall rhythm can continue. It is a subtle form of cooperation, one that reflects the body's natural inclination toward balance. Still, the heart appreciates supportive conditions. The quality of the blood flowing through its vessels matters. Blood, rich in oxygen and balanced nutrients, helps sustain the cells that produce each contraction. Gentle physical activity encourages healthy circulation, helping blood vessels remain flexible and responsive. Even rest plays a role. During sleep, the heart often enjoys some of its calmest hours. The rhythm slows slightly, blood pressure softens, and the body devotes energy to processes of maintenance and renewal. Nighttime becomes a quiet workshop where cells repair small stresses accumulated during the day. You might imagine this as a peaceful maintenance crew moving through a quiet city after sunset. Streets are cleaned, small cracks are repaired, and everything is prepared for the coming morning. The choices people make during waking hours can also influence how easily these repairs occur. Balanced nourishment, regular movement, and periods of relaxation all contribute to a healthy environment for the circulatory system. These habits are not acts of perfection, but gestures of respect toward the body's quiet labor. Stress, on the other hand, can sometimes place additional demands on the heart. When the mind feels pressure or worry, the nervous system may encourage the heart to beat faster and blood vessels to tighten. This response is useful in brief moments of challenge, helping the body prepare for action. But when such signals persist for long periods, the heart may experience more work than it truly needs. That is why calm moments, like the one you are sharing now, can be so helpful. They allow the nervous system to shift back toward balance, inviting the heart to settle into its natural rhythm once again. Knowledge itself can be a form of care. Understanding how the heart works, how circulation flows, and how the body responds to rest and activity can inspire quiet respect for the systems that sustain life. It reminds us that health is not only about avoiding illness, but about supporting the body's remarkable capacity for stability. Even when challenges arise within the heart or its vessels, modern medicine has developed many ways to assist the body's efforts at repair. Doctors can observe the rhythm of the heart, study the flow of blood through its vessels, and recommend treatments that help restore balance. These advances are the result of decades of careful observation and learning. They reflect humanity's growing understanding of the heart's quiet complexity. Yet at its core, the heart remains a humble organ. It continues beating without fanfare, without asking for praise, on responding to the signals it receives and maintaining the circulation that allows every other organ to function. You do not need to worry about the details tonight. The purpose of this gentle journey is not to create concern, but to appreciate the quiet resilience of the body. The heart is strong, adaptable, and supported by many systems working together. And as you rest here, breathing slowly, the heart continues its steady work beneath your ribs. Blood moves through its chambers. Valves open and close. Signals travel through nerves and vessels, guiding the rhythm with quiet care. It is a reminder that life inside the body is rarely dramatic. Most of the time, it is patient, cooperative, and calm. And in that calm, the heart continues to accompany you through each moment, quietly sustaining the rhythm that has been present since the earliest days of life. Soon, it becomes natural to step back and look at this remarkable system with a wider sense of wonder. How human curiosity gradually learned to listen to the heartbeat, to observe its signals, and to understand the gentle science unfolding within the chest. Long before instruments existed, long before laboratories or imaging machines, people noticed something quietly remarkable about the body. Beneath the chest, there was a rhythm, a steady pulse that could be felt in the wrist, the neck, or the gentle rise beneath the ribs. It was simple, yet mysterious, a soundless companion that followed every moment of life. For thousands of years, this rhythm inspired curiosity. Early observers did not have the language of modern science, yet they could feel the pulse beneath the skin. They noticed how it changed when someone ran or when someone rested. They saw that it quickened during fear and slowed during sleep. Even without understanding the structures inside the chest, they recognized that this rhythm carried meaning. Placing fingers lightly on the wrist became one of the earliest ways people tried to listen to the body. Beneath the fingertips, a gentle tapping could be felt. Each pulse was the echo of the heart's contraction traveling through the arteries. By counting these pulses, early physicians could learn about the body's state. A faster pulse might suggest exertion or excitement. A slower one might accompany rest. In this way, the pulse became a small window into the hidden workings of the heart. Over time, curiosity deepened. People wondered what produced this rhythm. What lay inside the chest that could create such a steady movement? Without the ability to see inside a living body, understanding came slowly. Observations of anatomy, often from careful study after death, began to reveal the structure of the heart. Gradually, its chambers, valves, and vessels became clearer. One of the most important discoveries was the realization that blood circulates through the body, rather than simply forming and disappearing within tissues. Careful observation showed that the heart acts as a pump, sending blood outward through arteries and receiving it again through veins. This insight transformed the understanding of circulation, revealing the heart as the central engine of a vast moving system. Yet, even as anatomy became clearer, the sound of the heartbeat remained something people wanted to hear more closely. In the early 19th century, a physician named René Laennec introduced a device that would quietly change medicine. He created the stethoscope, a simple instrument that allowed doctors to listen to sounds inside the body. By placing it against the chest, they could hear the gentle rhythm of the heart more clearly than ever before. Through the stethoscope came the familiar sounds often described as lub and dub. These sounds arise from the closing of the heart's valves as blood moves through its chambers. Listening to them can reveal subtle information about the heart's function. A regular rhythm suggests smooth coordination. Changes in the sounds may hint at shifts in blood flow or valve movement. Even today, the stethoscope remains one of the simplest and most human tools in medicine. It allows one person to listen directly to the quiet rhythm inside another. As technology advanced, new ways of observing the heart appeared. Instruments were developed to measure electrical activity, creating recordings that trace the signals guiding each beat. These recordings, known as electrocardiograms, display the heart's electrical rhythm as a pattern of gentle peaks and waves. Through these patterns, physicians can observe how electrical impulses move through the heart's conduction system. Small changes in timing or shape may reveal how the heart's signals are traveling. Another remarkable step forward came with the development of imaging techniques that allow doctors to see the heart while it is still beating. Ultrasound, for example, uses high-frequency sound waves to create moving pictures of the heart's chambers and valves. With this method, the flow of blood can be observed as it travels through the heart. These images reveal the opening and closing of valves, the contraction of the ventricles, and the gentle movement of blood through the chambers. Other imaging technologies provide additional perspectives. Magnetic resonance imaging and computed tomography can create detailed views of the heart's structure and the vessels surrounding it. These tools allow scientists and physicians to study the heart in ways that earlier generations could only imagine. Yet, despite these powerful instruments, the essence of understanding the heart remains rooted in careful attention. A physician listening with a stethoscope, a scientist observing patterns on a monitor, a researcher studying how cells respond to electrical signals. Each act is a form of quiet curiosity. Science, at its best, is not only about complex equipment. It is also about patience. It is about noticing patterns, asking gentle questions, and allowing observations to lead toward deeper understanding. Even the simple act of feeling your pulse can connect you to this long tradition of observation. Beneath your fingertips, the rhythm continues just as it has for countless generations before you. The heart has always been there, working faithfully beneath the surface of the body. Humans have gradually learned to listen more carefully to its signals. Today, this knowledge helps guide treatments that support the health of the heart and circulation. Doctors can measure blood pressure, observe electrical rhythms, and visualize blood flow with remarkable precision. These tools help them understand when the heart is working smoothly and when it may benefit from assistance. Yet, for all the sophistication of modern science, the heart remains a humble organ. It beats quietly, just as it always has. You do not need to see it directly to know it is there. Its rhythm continues beneath the ribs, steady and patient, supporting every breath you take. And as you listen to these words tonight, the same curiosity that inspired centuries of study can soften into something gentler: appreciation. Appreciation for the quiet intelligence of the body, for the steady pulse that has accompanied every moment of your life, for the scientists and physicians who learn to listen carefully to that rhythm, and for the simple truth that sometimes understanding begins with nothing more complicated than paying attention. If you allow your thoughts to drift now, you may find yourself returning to the rhythm itself. The heart continues beating. The body continues breathing. Life moves quietly within you, one gentle pulse at a time. And as the night deepens, the rhythm remains, steady, patient, and ready to carry you softly into rest. Now the journey draws gently towards stillness. Not an ending in the sudden sense, but a soft settling, like the final glow of evening light as it fades into night. Throughout this quiet exploration, you have followed the heart through many layers of understanding. You have noticed its chambers, its valves, its signals, its vessels, and its partnership with breath and blood. And yet, beneath all these details, one simple truth remains. The heart continues its rhythm, even now, even here. Within your chest, the heart contracts and releases with quiet certainty. Each movement is small, almost modest, and yet it carries life through every corner of your body. Blood travels outward through branching pathways. Oxygen drifts gently into waiting cells. Carbon dioxide returns through veins that guide it back toward the lungs. Then the cycle begins again. There is something deeply reassuring about this continuity. The heart does not wait for applause or attention. It works in the background of your life, through waking and sleeping, through moments of effort and moments of rest. It has been present through every day you have lived, and tonight it continues its faithful work beneath the calm surface of sleep. When you think of the heart now, it may feel less like a mechanical pump and more like a quiet companion, a patient rhythm that has accompanied every step of your life's journey. Earlier, you explored the small cluster of cells that begins each heartbeat, sending gentle electrical signals through the muscle. Those signals continue now, appearing again and again within the darkness of the chest. They spread through the heart's pathways like soft ripples across water, guiding the chambers to contract in perfect sequence. Spark, wave, release. And then the stillness before the next spark forms again. The heart muscle responds with steady devotion. Its cells shorten and relax in a pattern refined through millions of beats. They draw energy from the oxygen carried by the blood itself, sustaining their motion through a lifetime of quiet effort. Each contraction sends a pulse through the arteries. The great vessels stretch slightly, absorbing the movement and smoothing it into a flowing current. Smaller branches carry that current farther outward until it reaches the tiniest capillaries where life's exchanges unfold. Oxygen enters cells, nutrients nourish tissues, waste drifts away to be carried elsewhere. The system is vast, yet beautifully coordinated. Within that wide circulation, the heart remains the steady center. It adjusts when the body moves. It softens when the body rests. It listens to signals from nerves and hormones, responding with subtle shifts in rhythm. Sometimes the pulse quickens with excitement or effort. At other times it slows during quiet reflection. These changes are not signs of instability, but signs of responsiveness. The heart is always listening, always adjusting, always finding the rhythm that matches the moment. Even sleep becomes part of this conversation. When the body settles into rest, the nervous system gradually favors calm signals. Muscles release their tension. Breathing becomes deeper and slower. The heart follows this shift with gentle willingness. The spaces between beats lengthen slightly. Blood pressure softens. Circulation continues, but in a quieter way. Sleep reminder here. There is nothing you need to do to encourage this process. The body already understands the path toward rest. Your breathing rises and falls like a slow tide, and the heart follows that tide with steady patience. If you imagine the heart now, you might picture it resting within the chest, like a lantern glowing softly in a darkened room. Its light is not bright or demanding. It simply remains there, guiding the quiet movement of life through your body. Beat by beat, the lantern glows. Blood moves outward. Blood returns. Each cycle flows into the next without effort. And while the heart continues its faithful rhythm, other systems of the body carry out their own quiet work. Cells repair small wear from the day. The brain shifts through patterns of sleep that help restore energy and memory. Hormones adjust their levels, preparing the body for tomorrow. All of this happens gently. You do not need to guide any of it. The heart will continue beating whether you notice it or not. This simple truth can be strangely comforting. Beneath all the thoughts and plans that fill waking hours, the body maintains its own deeper rhythm. A rhythm older than language, older than memory. A rhythm that began in the earliest days of life, when the heart first started to pulse within a tiny developing body. Since then, that rhythm has continued through every moment you have experienced. Through childhood curiosity, through long afternoons of activity, through quiet evenings like this one. The heart has always been there, quietly sustaining the life unfolding around it. Perhaps that is why the heartbeat has long fascinated people. It feels both familiar and mysterious. You can feel it beneath your fingertips, yet you rarely think about the vast system that depends on it. Tonight, you have taken a gentle look inside that system. You have followed blood through chambers and vessels. You have listened to the electrical signals that begin each beat. You have noticed the valves guiding the flow and the muscles carrying out their patient work. You have seen how the heart adapts through the years, how it responds to breath, movement, and rest. And now, as the journey settles into stillness, those ideas can soften and drift away. You do not need to remember every detail. The heart remembers its work. As this journey gently comes to a close, notice how wide and still the world feels. So many lives unfolding quietly, whether we see them or not. Your own heart continues its rhythm within the calm of the night. Each beat a quiet assurance that life is moving gently forward. You don't need to keep their names or stories. They've already done their work. If you enjoy these slow explorations, you can support the channel in any small way that feels natural, so others can find this calm too. But right now, there is nothing to decide and nowhere to go. Let your thoughts soften. Let your muscles relax. Let the steady rhythm of your heart accompany you as sleep slowly arrives. One peaceful breath at a time.